to make this dress, and I'm going to be using this color for the top part and then my sleeve. So this here is the skirt part of it. So basically how we normally cut the skirt, we're going to be cutting it as a pencil skirt, right? So the length I want to have when I'm done is about 19.5. So I added about 1.5 to this here, so you see is at 21. So the next thing you're going to do is, that's half an inch for joining this top part here to the bodice, because this is going to be my bodice, and then 1 inch of folding this end. So now the next thing I'm going to do, and the width I have also is my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1. My hip is 48 plus 1 divided by 4 is 12 plus 1 is 13. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure my waist. So the waist I'm going to be working with is about 34 divided by 4 is going to be 8.5. So I'm going to mark that here, and then I'm going to add extra 2 inches of 1 inch of seam allowance, and then the other 1 inch is going to be my side seam allowance. So guys, 1 inch of the side seam allowance and 1 inch of darting, so plus that means 2 inches is what I added here. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the waist, the waist to hip, which is at this about 10 inches down here, and then after that this is the end, the length of my skirt down here. So now on this line here, you're going to just insert your hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1, which is exactly the width of the fabric, and then it's 13, right? So down here I'm going to take away 1 from that, and then that will be 12 inches that I marked here. So now I'm going to connect this together, and then I'm going to connect from the hip to the end, and then from the waist to this hip. So guys, remember to come down 1 inch on this hip part before connecting it to the lower part, so that it doesn't have this part will not be pointy when you're done. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to insert my dart. So the dart I'm working with is going to be 4 inches. That's my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 8 divided by 2 is 4. So but I'm going to add half an inch to it here. So that's 4.5. So I'm going to mark half an inch on this side, half an inch on this side. On this center line, which is going to be my dart, I'm going to bring it down here up to 8 inches, because my hip is at 10. I'm going to stop 2 inches before that, so that's somewhere here. I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to mark my dart just like that. Connect it. Sorry, just so guys, this is it here. I've connected my dart this way. So as you can see, I notched it here so that I can be able to transfer it to both the front and the back. And as you can see, my back panel here has 1 inch of zip allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and split the back open and cut off the excess on the side. So guys, now I've cut out the excess from the side. So this is my skirt now. And then I also cut out what I'll use for my ruffle on the side. Because this particular skirt, the one on the thumbnail, is the adjustable type, which I already made on this channel. I'm going to insert that if you want to use that method. But for me, this one here, I'm going to use a different method, which is just to put a steady ruffle at the side instead of the adjustable ruched skirt for the bottom. So I cut out about 6.5 or 5.5. Let me check the length I have here. So this is going to be my ruffle for the side here. So that's 6 inches is what I have here. So by the time I use 1 inch to fold the end and half an inch to take it inside of the side seam, I will be left with about 4.5 inches or so for the ruffle on the side. So guys, another thing you're going to do is to measure from the length of your skirt all the way down, so that you can figure out the amount of ruffle you want to use. You can do 2.5, like whatever the length is, you can times it by 2.5. Let's say you get 20 for the length here. Remember, you're going to leave half an inch for the top part here to be able to attach it. Your ruffle can't go all the way to that part. Come down half an inch before you measure, and then it can't get to the very end. Stop like 1 inch before the end. So that basically leaves me with about 20 inches or so. So whatever you have, you can times it by 2.5, or you can do times 2. It depends on how much ruffle you want on the side. So now that or you can even do times 1.5 if you don't have a lot of fabric you're working with. as the length of the ruffle. So for me now, I've cut out what I'm going to use here, which are these fabrics here. So I'm going to go ahead now and sew it down, and then I'm going to come back in and attach the ruffle to the skirt. See, by the side, I went ahead and marked out that 1 inch of side seam allowance so it doesn't confuse me. And then this is my ruffle. Remember, before you start to sew yours, remember to sew the edge. Like sew the edge, sew this corner too, and then sew the top part too. Right? Remember to sew this all the corners. So now the next thing you're going to do is just to take it this way, and then you're going to place it like this. You're going to, because this is the front of my skirt, right? So you're going to place this up this way, and then you're going to sew it down. If you think you can do everything once, just place it this way, this way, and then take the back of your skirt and then place it on top and sew it down using that 1 inch of seam allowance. You can pin it down and sew everything once. Just pin it down this way. Use that 1 inch of seam allowance and sew it down. And once you're done, it will look something like this, just like how this side looks now. So you see, I finished this one here, and then the back, once I move the back this way, the back side of the skirt, then I have just the flare by the side. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side now. Sew it down this way with the 1 inch, so that once I move the back away, this one also will flap this way. So remember to use just the 1 inch that you added for the seam allowance. So now that I've finished this one, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I'm going to cut the top. So guys, now to cut the top part of it, this is what I'm using here. Just my bust measurement plus like extra bust divided by 4, like, and extra maybe 3 inches or 4 inches. So now the next thing you're going to do is just to go ahead and mark. So I placed my tape. I've done this several times, so I'm just going to rush through it. So just place your tape from the shoulder. So this part here is going to be my shoulder to my breast point, shoulder to under bust, which is 14.5, shoulder to breast point 12, shoulder to waist 17, then plus half an inch to join the bottom part. And then at this top here, I want my top to start at 7. So that's why I have points at the top here. So you see, so once I take away this half an inch here, my top is going to start at 7 because I need to use lining to flip it. So now the and by the way, the fabric I'm using for the top is Tetrax, and then the fabric I'm using for this is Akara. You might need half yard of this one here, less than half yard, because you only need just these 2 pieces here, and then maybe like 2 yards of this one. So that's all you need. So now the next thing you're going to do after that is just to insert your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 plus 1. So that's, for me, is 5. The nipple to nipple is 8 divided by 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So I mark distance of 5 from the end to this point. So now I'm going to connect the dotted lines into a straight line, and then at the top I'm going to mark 1 inch on each side here, and then at the second line here I'm going to just connect this part to this line this way. To the under bust is where I'm going to connect it to, and then after that, this on this under bust line, I'm going to divide 0.75 on each side, and then on this lower line I'm going to divide 1 inch. That's half point on each side, 0.5 on each side. So then after that, I'm going to just connect these 2 lines together, connect this together, and then I'm going to blend in from here to here, and then from here to here. So that's basically it. I've marked out my body. So now I'm going to just insert all my measurements. So now the next thing you're going to insert here is your one side of your armpit to the other side. So for me, that's 14 divided by 2 is 7. So mark 7. But then I'm going to put back these 2 inches from here. This 1 inch on this side, 1 inch on this side. Put back that, and then I'm going to mark that here. And then after that, you're going to come down to this breast point line, and then you're going to divide your breast point you're going to divide your breast measurement by 4. So for me, that's 10.5. I'm going to mark that here, and then I'm going to add about 2 inches for my sewing allowance. Mark it here. And then the same thing, I'm going to come down to my waist measurement, divide it by 4. so that's going to be 8.5. And then I'm going to add back this measurement from here, which is about 1 inch. Add it back, and then I'm going to also add 2 inches of sewing allowance. So that's basically what I'm going to do here. Connect these two parts together, and then on this part here now I'm going to place back my tape the way it was before, so that I can be able to mark my armhole, because this is going to have a sleeve. So I'm going to mark my armhole. Divided by 2 is about 10 inches down here. So I'm going to mark that here, and then connect it down to this point, and then give it a curve this way. So I'm going to also insert your breast measurement, round your breast measurement divided by 4. So that is 10.5 for me. And then you're going to insert this measurement that you have here. So that's about 7.5 here. Let me put it back. And then I'm going to also put back my 2 inches of sewing allowance. And then I'm going to connect it to this part. So that's basically it. Now I'm going to just go ahead and cut this out. So guys, cut this part out and remove it. And then now I'm going to also come down here. It depends on the kind of neckline you want. If you want it straight across, you don't want a sweetheart neckline, it depends on you. I want a sweetheart neckline, so I'm going to mark 2 inches down here for the neck depth, and then I'm going to connect it this way. So I'm going to cut this out, and then from here I'm just going to cut out my bust here. This is out. Cut this one. And by the way, I'm marking this chalk on the wrong side of this fabric, just so you guys know. And then I'm going to cut from here. So that's basically everything I cut out. So now my bodice is done. Set this aside. So now I'm going to cut the back. Remember, the back is going to have a zip allowance. The same width is what I have here at the back. I'm going to use the bust measurement plus extra like 4 inches just to be safe. If I cut anything off, then that's fine too. So guys, both the length and the width are the same measurement as the one for the front. It's just the same part, the same way I cut it out. But now let me insert my measurement. So firstly, I'm going to go ahead and mark 1 inch of zip allowance. So guys, now the next, and after marking my 1 inch for my zip, the next thing I did is that same nipple to nipple measurement plus extra divided by 2 plus 1 is what I marked here. That's distance of 5 inches away from this line. So I'm going to mark that line also straight all the way down. And then I'm going to mark half an inch on this side and then half an inch on this side. This is for my darting. So now the next thing I have to do is just to insert my measurement. So my waist, this lower part is my waist. So on this lower part, I'm going to just divide my waist measurement by 4, which is 8.5. So plus extra 2 inches. I'm going to mark that here. So that's 10. Sorry, 10.5 I mean. I'm going to just mark that here. And then I'm also going to divide my bust measurement by 4. So first let me mark my my bust line, which is somewhere here. And then this line here is my armhole line, 9.5 or 10, somewhere here. So now I'm going to just firstly I'm going to come to this line here, and then I'm going to divide my bust measurement by 4. So the bust I'm working with, like I said before, is 10.5. Mark it here. Remember, we are using this line here, and then plus the extra 2 inches of sewing, which is here. That is it. And then you're going to bring up that same measurement to this line. Part here, I'm just going to insert that same measurement I used in front. So for me, that's 7. I'm going to add back this 1 inch of this part here. I'm going to put that back in, and then I'm going to connect this line down to this point, and then this is going to be my armhole. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out all the way. So I'm going to still pick my dart this way for the back, and then split this open for the zip allowance. So like I always do in all my bodies like this, I always remove about 1 inch at the bottom part here, so that my zip and the back can balance better, and then I connect it all the way to the edge of this way. And then also the same thing for the top here. I like to give it a curve at the neck, at the back. So I'm going to come down here by about 2 inches or so, and then I'm going to also blend it in this way, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead, cut this out also, and then use lining to flip it over. I'm using for the sleeve, the width I have here is about 16 inches, and then remember the length I have here is also about 18.5. So I'm going to fold this part here to make my casing, and also fold this part here to make my casing, about 1.5 on both ends. So now before I cut this armhole for the sleeve, so all I have to do is just to fold this way, fold this top part here so that I can be able to fold away my casing. And then I'm going to place the armhole on this edge here, leaving about like my seam allowance, maybe 1.5 or so, and then I'm going to just draw out whatever I have here as my armhole. So now I'm going to cut this part out here. So this is what it looks like right now. So this is the body, and then this is the sleeve. Like I said, if you want exactly the one on the thumbnail, you can go ahead and use the, I'm going to attach the video, so you can use the skirt part of that one, the ruched one, because the one on the thumbnail is a ruched skirt, but I already made that before, so I decided to use, instead make a different tutorial and use something different. So that's why I use this type here. So thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, this is the back of it here. I'm still going to change the thread that I used here and also change the zip, but for the video purpose, this is what it looks like at the moment here. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Bye.